Hi, Terence.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
What was the name of the retro place that you?
Idea boards.
Sorry, Ideal Boards. That's it. Okay, cool. I will go and find that.
So you are now host. I can make the idea boards. What kind of you want just to doing done?
I thought we were going to do an agile clinic, so like a lean coffee sort of. Let them put things up and then vote for which ones.
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. But you need 3 columns, right?
Oh yeah. So to do in progress done, like you said.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds good. How are you?
I am good, thank you. How are you?
Doing interviews non-stop and
Interviews.
ready to break up for Christmas.
Yeah, fantastic.
All the usual things. Are you going to put the idea boards in the chat window?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Please fill in what? Telford. Meetup groups. Yes. Have you got it? Can you click?
In a minute. Sorry, I was just I was on one of the other pages. In the chat window. Yes, but I'm going to close that. I'm going to use Chrome, hopefully. Sorry, you might be able to hear my son shouting in the background.
Eddie, yeah.
Yeah, Teddy's having a good time for himself, shall we say. Right.
Okay, so this is ready. I'm going to log out. I'm going to log out and then come back as myself.
Okay, no problem. And I might be on mute.
Yeah, and then you can make me the host so that I can keep letting people in.
Yeah, I thought I'd set it up without the
waiting room.
Waiting room.
Yeah, there is waiting room. So I'll join as myself. You make me the host, and then I make everyone shareable. That's the big for us. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, no problem. Cheers.
This can be ready about 20 past. Do you want me to put some onto a plate in a bowl for you so you can take it and eat it while you're cooking?
Yeah, yes, please. Or I can eat afterwards.
Nice and fresh.
I know you cooked it for me.
Teddy! No, I cooked it for everybody. You to have it, but I'd forgotten.
Hi, I'm back in.
Okay. And now I just need to make you host.
Host.
Make host. Okay.
Oh, I am the host now, and I will make screen sharing shareable by everyone, multiple participants, so that you can screen share.
Okay.
Can you check whether you can screen share?
Can I do what? Sorry.
Screen share. Can you share screen?
I can. Give me a minute. As you can see.
I know, I can hear. Hang on.
Can you see that?
Yeah, I get
In 5 minutes.
That.
Might be this hand. Thanks, Bob.
There we go. And back again. Okay. You still there, Prem?
I am here.
Okay. So you were able to see all of those, hopefully.
I'm able to see that you are sharing screen.
Yeah, but you could see the PowerPoint and you could see the Chrome.
Yeah.
Excellent. Pardon me. Okay. Right, I'm just going to grab something to eat in our 16 minutes until we start. Are you okay letting people in?
I am okay letting people in. Yes.
All right. Okay, cool. Sorry, it's been a bit of a madhouse and everything here. So. Right. I'll see you in a bit. Cool. Right. Is that your phone or what's going on?
It is mine.
Fair enough.
I thought I will have music while I'm on my own.
Pardon?
I thought I will have some music.
Oh, let me stop my shins. There we go. So,
You have shaved your beard.
Yeah. Oh, what's happened to your video?
Oh,
Oh, there we go. I wondered what had happened there. I am having some dinner, or trying to.
mm.
Which I might be swearing about in a minute. You got cold?
No, it's just a thing. Why will you be swearing?
Because it'll probably be too hot or too too spicy or something.
In my first stint in Telford, long before there have been 2 times I was.
Yeah.
There was one time before that. I was in it when it was Matheson House. At that time, I was there during November, and November. People grew mustache, and then I did cook up for the entire month. I cooked and then I sold takeaway food in the office and collected money for the November number challenge.
Cool.
Yeah,
well,
I was very popular. Everyone would come and queue
to get the food
in front of me. They need to give me order because I need to know what to cook for them. So they need to give me order, and I would give a kind of selection. These are all the things I can cook today, or
nice.
not every, yeah. I'm not going to go back and cook and bring back, but this is what I can bring for tomorrow.
Cool. No, I'm just work has been difficult. Really, really difficult. Just having ran a retro today, and people were like, "This is week sprint 4." I'm getting comments like, "Oh, we need to have less. We need to change the sprint, the amount of sprint ceremonies and stuff like that."
Were they sleeping in the class?
I don't
they
know.
Sleep in class about Scrum?
Yeah, feels like it. Or
yeah.
As soon as I start talking about the importance and the reasoning behind things, oh, you're an agile purist. Like, we are so far away from pure agile.
Yeah, anything they don't like, then immediately we are purist, right? Well, in BP, we haven't even started the journey. So
really?
Yeah. Well, in some places.
Do you mean in your area or in general?
Mostly in most part of the organization. And in my area, yeah, even slower. In some places they have just started.
I'm just getting so many CVs from people who have like, yeah, I took my Scrum Master certification 6 months ago, and I want to either they want to be, one of the highest grades sort of things going, or
that's the arrogance. That's the,
I don't know.
It can be a little bit offensive. That's the British arrogance. But I am working with an Indian coach who is even more arrogant, who has
really
he's not acting arrogant, but he has convinced people to become this agile coach. I don't believe he has ever run a retrospective.
Oh dear.
Yeah, this is my observation about
him. And this is why I keep on changing the questions at the interview and being like, what's the difference between an agile coach and a scrum master, to see whether people are just trying it on. Yeah, the number of people who you go, are you sure you're certified? Because you're telling me you're certified, but you're giving me all the answers that tell me you're not.
When I applied, when I was interviewed by Mel and Toby,
yeah,
they asked me the question that you have got Agile coach in your CV. What's the difference between a Scrum Master and Agile coach?
Mm-hmm. It's a good question, and I've been working with Joe. Me and Joe have been interviewing people, and we've been bouncing different questions around with people. It's been really good. But yeah, the number of people who just keep on. I feel bad. I feel like I don't know. People have applied in Prem, and I've just gone. This person, they haven't got all the coaching. They've not got the basics of being a Scrum Master, and I'm still thinking, oh, maybe we should take them because they might improve. And then they'll answer something, and you'll just go, this person is never going to contribute to any other communities. They're never going to. They're just going to be a passenger on a Scrum bus, which they're not driving, and like the team are just going to do it.
Actually, the team know a lot more. If the team knows a lot more than the Scrum Master, they are going to eat them for breakfast.
They are, and I had a particular
What you should do, you should let the team interview the Scrum Master.
I can't, otherwise I would. But I don't always know which team they're going to go on and stuff like that. It's not just for the digital delivery center.
Yeah, you could. Chris will always be happy to sit in a Scrum Master interview, especially he will just enjoy that.
Oh yeah, I never thought about inviting Chris Poole. I should do.
Chris Poole, Daniel Ufoma. They all will love to interview a Scrum Master.
For all the wrong reasons.
Right. 3 minutes to go. There are 2 people in the waiting room. Should we let them in?
Yes.
Yeah.
I will go off camera and mute myself.
Hello.
I will just finish this and then I'll put my camera back on. I just don't want people to be upset with me on screen. It's not very professional.
No, it's all right. I put them back in the waiting room because there was only one person. The other person left for some reason, or maybe it's some technical difficulty. They dropped out. So there's only one person, and then 2 more minutes anyway. So you don't have to worry.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we got 2 minutes. So for 2 minutes, we can be not very professional.
Although we are being recorded on YouTube.
I will delete it.
Is it not a live stream as well?
Well, I can delete it. I mean, I will edit the video and trim it out.
No.
Yeah, it is for now live streamed. If someone is watching live right now, yeah. But I usually don't advertise the live streaming.
No.
Yeah, they don't get the link until I edit and give the link.
Which is understandable.
Come to think of it, I haven't advertised the link for the last meetup yet. I haven't put out the link for the last meetup yet.
Okay. Mm.
Okay, there's just a minute to go. There are 4 people there in the waiting room. Shall I let them in?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm only working tomorrow, and then I'm finished for the year.
Ooh, that's very good.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm finishing on Friday. You're finishing earlier than me. I'm a contractor. You're finishing earlier than me. Are you going
That is allowed.
until what?
I said it is allowed.
It's allowed. Of course, it is allowed. Are you going somewhere, or are you enjoying just in Telford?
I'm staying in Telford and doing my
Shopping.
Christmas wrapping and shopping and.
Yeah, very festive. Okay, I'll let people in.
Yeah. Hello.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Mike.
How are you?
We are good. We are good. How are you?
I'm very comfortable right now, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, we can see that. Yeah. Where are you?
Currently in North Liverpool.
North Liverpool. Okay. Very good. Yeah. Who is this? Dennis. Hi, Dennis.
Hey, you okay?
Yeah,
Hi.
yeah. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Where are you living?
In West Midlands, by Wolverhampton.
Okay.
Oh, not far from Telford.
No.
Terence is in Telford.
Just outside. Yeah.
Just outside Telford. Yeah.
I can see Wolfgang's connecting. Natasha.
Yeah.
Laura.
And I work with Natasha in BP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Hi, Natasha. I believe it is that Natasha.
Wolfgang's background's perfect. Just right for me.
No, that is not the background. I'm in a spaceship.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do look like you are in a spaceship.
Yeah, of course.
Where did you get that background from?
Yeah, I found it somewhere. Yeah, there is a website with a database of Zoom backgrounds. You find all kind of crazy stuff there.
It's nice. It's good.
Very nice. Very nice. Where do you live, Wolfgang? How do I say your name, Wolfgang?
Yeah, Wolfgang is in German Wolfgang.
German.
English Wolfgang also.
Wolfgang. Yeah.
From Munich.
Where do you live? Are you in Munich?
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. How's the weather in Munich?
Yeah, it's a great city. Best city in Germany.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Omolara. Omolara? Is that how you say your name? Hello?
Right. We're about 3 minutes in. I'll give it another minute and then I'll start presenting. I'll share a.
Yeah, let me say hello to the few.
Hello.
Hi, Omolara. Am I saying your name right?
Yeah, you you did.
Nearly, yeah.
Yeah, you did.
How do I say your name?
Omolara.
Omolara. Not
Yeah.
Thank
you.
Where do you live?
I'm schooling Huddersfield, but I just moved to Bolton recently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
Who we have got here? We have got Sabira. Sabira.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh,
Hi,
Am I saying your name right? Sabira?
it's Sabra. I go by Sabs.
Sabra, Sabs.
Yeah.
Hi. Welcome. Where do you live?
I'm in Leeds.
Leeds. Oh, hello. Hello,
Yeah.
welcome to the meetup.
Thank you.
We have Rory. Hi, Rory. Rory Stanley.
yeah, I can see it's just come off mute.
Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Hi. Where do you live?
Far from them, I'm living Cannock.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
another local.
Local enough, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
We have lost Natasha, I think, have we? I think she has dropped out. Oh, she's here. But we can't hear her for some reason.
I will do the screen share. I will welcome people. So, welcome everybody. I'm Tim Starling. Prem's just been talking. Welcome to the Agile Telford meetup. Today we're just going to do Agile Clinic. So it's going to be based on Lean Coffee for those who have done that before. I'm basically going to post a link in the chat window that'll take you to a Kanban board. You can put in the topics that you want to discuss. Obviously, we want everyone to share their knowledge. There's no judgments, you know, about, oh, that's easy to solve or anything like that. There aren't any easy things with when work's concerned. So put in any issues that you've got, and obviously we'll vote on those and go through them. And you'll have people make suggestions and have a discussion about possible issues. Hopefully that sounds good to everyone. Yeah, so I will stop sharing. I will put, if Prem's already done it, there we go. So there's already a board in there. So let me know if anybody can't access that board.
I can share this screen share here as well.
Okay, and to add something, you just click the plus on the to-do.
Yeah, click on
And
the plus to add anything. And then if you click inside the item, then you can see the thumbs up. If you click the thumbs up, then you can add your vote there.
we'll give people some time to add some ideas, some discussion topics.
Mm. I can add a funny one. Okay, our first challenge has got to. Come on. That's good. Okay, I delete this the unnecessary bits.
I will start us off with a non-agile question to begin with.
Is it inspect and adapt or inspect 7 adapt? Yeah. And
What happened there? Oh.
what film have you walked out of?
Oh, that was me. It's now in twice. Sorry. Let me remove one. Okay.
You can vote on the tickets that interests you as well. Huh? Is that it? Are we not going to have more challenges to discuss? And no one has voted as well. Do you have any difficulty in accessing the board? Go on.
Can we add as we go along if something comes up?
Yes, of course.
Are you able to vote for the tickets? Do you have any difficulty?
Oh, sorry, let me give it a go.
Yeah.
I had to open it up to be able to vote, but that's because I'm on an iPad, I think.
Yeah. There are at least 3 votes for 1 ticket at least. So 3 people are able to vote. Fantastic. Terence, you want
Hello?
to start?
I was going to start with what film have you walked out of from the cinema? I just as one to get people talking.
Yeah. Okay, go for it. Shall I move it to in progress?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So I'll go around. So has anybody actually ever walked out of the cinema because of a film they're watching?
No.
No, I can go first because I definitely have. I moved. We were watching, what's it called? Triple X with Vin Diesel. I don't know if it's because I'd just watched a James Bond film or something, but about halfway through, I got up and just left. I couldn't watch it. I'm sorry. I know loads of people like that film, but it was wasn't for me at all.
I haven't been to the cinema to watch a film in a really long time. So
Anyone else?
Shall I add a yes for myself?
Yeah.
Obnoxiously loud people talking on mobile phones in a very small cinema.
yeah.
Yeah, walked out.
Yeah, get up and walk out. Did the cinema owners say anything, or was it just they expected people to behave like that?
As I knew the people that were working as ushers and managers at the time, because I worked there previously, it was for me to walk out, not for the other people.
Okay. Fair enough.
I think I went to the same movie as you, the is it Vin Diesel? Is that the guy in that film?
Yes.
I think I went to one of those movies anyway, because a friend of mine wanted to see it, and I didn't walk out, but I understand why you did.
It's funny you should mention, I was actually with a friend who wanted to see it, and I just turned around to him and said, I can't watch any more of this. It's just, it's not for me. I'll meet you outside. Just got up and left.
Yeah.
Which is terrible. I'm a bad friend. I should have compromised.
Horses for courses.
Okay. Shall we move that one, Prem?
Okay.
And start on what's our top voted?
Top voted so far is how to act if the company who hired you as an Agile coach is actually not interested to become Agile at all.
This is a great question. What have people got to contribute?
Can I ask a question, a naive question?
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't know what an Agile clinical coach is. I've got a rough idea, but can somebody just give me a little summary what that?
I think you might get different answers from everyone, but anyone wanting to pick up the baton with their version? I can say my version. My version is the Agile coaches that are normally there to ask difficult questions of the organization or business unit, whatever, and to bring them along into getting an understanding of what having an Agile mindset is about. And sometimes that might just be asking the right question, or sometimes it is that coaching piece where you can be mentoring, training, and coaching, and the coach bit is there to sort of give them the right direction and ask them the right question, and either they find out themselves or you can impart some information. It's really best if they find out themselves, if you've pointed them in the right direction or provided them with the right information. What are other people's takes on that?
Yeah, I can go next. So when we say how to act if the company who hired you as Agile coach is actually not interested to become Agile coach at Agile at all. So the company as a whole is not a living entity. The people in the company is what we are talking about here. Yeah. And among people, there can be few different types. One is showing the resistance, what probably you are talking about. I can also understand that there is the other one, could be the overall architecture or the system end-to-end aspect of the company. So we don't know which one specific here. If we are talking about individuals who are showing resistance, then there are few aspects we need to consider. Has it been imposed on them without them having an understanding of what Agile is, why we are doing Agile? Or what else is making them feel this is not for them? Or do they have a fear of losing their job. So there can be a few different aspects if it is an individual we are talking here. If we are talking about the organizational structure, architecture, the system process, or those kind of different things, then it's a different challenge. Whose ticket is that? Would you like to clarify a little bit?
Yeah, I can explain a little bit. It's from me. I'm hired as an agile coach at a large car manufacturer in Germany. And so I was, before I worked as a Scrum Master, and I was really, I was really excited about this opportunity, working as an agile coach, which is somehow a little bit on a higher level. Yeah, so also talking to managers, middle management, upper management, and so on. And so I was really excited about that role. But now, working about 4 months there, I experienced that actually there's nobody, seems nobody to be really interested into looking more into what agile way of working can bring to them. So they have, of course, heard about Scrum and Agile and Lean and so on. So there is some knowledge about it. So, and also software developer, an example, work in Scrum teams. But the whole company is working since ever. They, in a car, in the car industry, in a company which is about 150 years old or so, they have developed their methods of working, which is a very process-driven, top-down way of working. So a very traditional working style. And it is so much into their DNA that I made some talks, I made some little seminars, I explained about SAFe, talked a little bit about agile mindset and so on. Everybody is politely nodding their head, but then coming back to the real stuff. Yeah. So there is no real interest. Yeah, they say, okay, we have a lot of things to do here. We have a lot of challenges. We have to develop new software. We have to compete with companies like Tesla and so on. We all know that. We have to do something. Don't bother us with this agile stuff.
Wolfgang, is it primarily like software development that they're wanting to change, or is it the manufacturing side?
No, it's the software side.
Okay.
So they know how to build cars.
Yeah.
But the big challenge is software and updating cars over the air and bringing entertainment systems into the cars and all this stuff, migrating to the cloud. Yeah, so it's really software challenges. The challenge is huge, everybody understands that there's a big technical challenge, but they don't understand that they also have to change their mindset and way of working in order to compete with companies, with tech companies like Tesla, Apple in future, Google. Google made their own operating system for cars. Chinese manufacturers like Alibaba go into the car industry. So to compete on a long term with such kind of IT companies, they have to change their way of working, and they don't understand that. So my frustration is really that I'm sitting there in the meeting, I get good money for my job, but I cannot do anything.
Is that they're not willing to experiment with a new way of working as well? So if you were to say, hey, this is actually what the sort of methods that Tesla are using for their software development, or would that just be, we're going to stick with what we know?
Yeah, I think they have Scrum teams. The software is developed by Scrum teams in India and in Germany. So they say, okay, we are agile. We have Scrum teams. Yeah? I even don't believe that the Scrum teams are real Scrum teams. I think they are just renamed former departments. Yeah, but this is a different story. But the whole management, the whole middle management, which is a big layer there in the company, they are so long working in that traditional way, they don't know anything else. And I'm the only, it's a big, huge company, and it seems to be I'm the only agile coach there. And I really feel frustrated. There's no real resistance also. There is simply no willing to look deeper into these things, to learn from, to engage with agile frameworks.
Could I jump in?
It's all a discussion. Yeah, right.
So a couple of things to say. Wolfgang, just bear with me a second. I just wanted to say something to Dennis quickly. Ask what, if I remember correctly, asked what agile coaching was. And so actually, let's just understand that agile coaching and agile and coaching is kind of multiple things. So if agile, I define agile coaching as a way of helping an organization adopt an implementation of agile that is right for them, right? And it has to be proportionate and right for them, because there's no one size fits all. Secondly, then an agile coach is somebody that comes in to help the organization put measures in place to help adopt that agile ways of working. That means that the development practices have got to be there, the organization has to pivot, so marketing departments have to pivot. And until you've got the entire organization thinking in terms of agility, in terms of an agile mindset, I don't believe that you're really agile, because then you've just got agile within a waterfall framework. And an agile coach adopts a number of techniques, and especially what they call stances, in order to help people under certain circumstances achieve that agility. So they might take up a stance as a teacher to teach people. They may facilitate conversations. They may do coaching. There's various ways that they can approach trying to solve this problem. And to that end, in the chat, I've put the link to the very famous book by Lisa Atkins, who really was the sort of pioneer behind agile coaching, who, if you read the book, certainly would do a far better job at explaining it than I could.
I'm just wondering where my copy is. I've got it next to me somewhere on the desk.
And then just coming back to Wolfgang, I hear your frustration, mate, and it's one that's echoed by a number of people, including myself. So, did you do an agile coaching course? Did you go through a formalized course?
Not agile coaching. So I'm a Scrum Master, Scrum product owner, and I'm a safe consultant.
Excellent. Well, then, to me, then you've come through the right route, right? Because you really need to understand what a Scrum Master does, I think, in a development setting and in a team setting before really you should be working at an organizational level. So well done. I think that's the right way to go. One of the things that you learn in an agile coaching training session is that you have what ubiquitously could be referred to as a contract. It's an agreement between you and the organization that says, let me explain the framework, the way that we're going to work together. And it really neatly sets out right up front what the success criteria is going to be. So what am I going to do? What's expected of me? And what in turn do I expect of you? And I think that if you went back to the organization and had that conversation and laid that down and then made that very visible in public, right? We all believe in transparency and information radiators and all of that, where they agree how they define Agile, how they define a good job from you. I think that would then better enable everybody to come onto the same page and articulate exactly what it is that they were expecting from you and what you were expecting from them.
I think that's just to add to Mike. I don't know about your experience and Wolfgang's, but sometimes that's in place, and then the management go, "Oh, you wanted us to change as well. We signed up for it, but we didn't expect to actually have to do it. We wanted the change, but not for us to change."
Yeah, that's actually is the missing piece of the puzzle when organizations say that they are going to do Agile, be Agile, whatever what terminology they use. They don't realize that each one of them is going to go through this journey.
Yeah.
Each one of them is going to change the way they have been working, and each one of them is going to shake up the process they have set up before. It's going to be different now, that they do not realize that. So are you that was going to be one of my questions, Wolfgang, that are you the only person, or have you got any ally within the organization? Even if you do not have, but you already answered that question, you are the only Agile coach. Even if you do not have additional Agile coaches, what the best next step for you is to create allies, people who are inspired to embrace this Agile ways of working, even if it is not fully perfect Scrum or Kanban or any of the ways of working. Any small aspect, if someone is inspired, interested in doing that, changing the way current system is working, they are your allies. Create your ally groups and grow your allies.
Wolfgang, do you already have that contract with them? Because I imagine they must have employed you for a reason, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. So I'm coming from an external company, which is also. So I'm working for a different company who lent me out to this car manufacturer.
Yeah.
So, and I'm employed as an Agile coach for this company. But and the people that hired me, that asked for me, it's a car manufacturer. They know that I'm an Agile coach, and that is what I want to do, and that this is basically my only competence that I can contribute, because my background in my past working life, there is no experience in the automotive industry. So if I can contribute something, then it's about Agile coaching and these methods. However, it seems I think Mike, your response is helpful for me, because I think the root of the problem is that I have no real agreement with the leading manager at the car manufacturer with what are the criteria for my work, what they expect from me, and how success or failure is measured.
Correct.
So, and that is really the missing link. I think also these leading managers, they they hired me, they asked for me because the top management of this car manufacturer, they know that they need to compete with tech companies like Apple and Tesla and so on. These are Agile companies. So the top management has heard we have to become Agile. So under this pressure, probably this hiring manager as a car manufacturer, he said, okay, I have to satisfy my top management. Otherwise, they will blame me that we are not agile. So I simply hire an agile coach, so nobody can say that I'm not interested to become agile.
Yeah.
So that is, I think, that is somehow the reason. Yeah, but that is unfair. It's an unfair deal, and I think I have to talk with these people and say, okay, it is maybe for you fine to just spending the money for an agile coach, but I want to do something really.
Yeah, it sounds as though what they've done is they're expecting you to do magic, right? Come in and change everything.
Yeah, and it's a kind of I'm a kind of makeup, yeah. So just to make them looking okay,
Feel good.
You have an agile coach there.
Yeah, I think what it sounds like, they do this quite often to companies. They expect that agile coaches are magicians, right? You come in there and suddenly magically somehow things just get better. And unfortunately, that's not how anything else in life works. So I'm not sure why they think that. If you think of the very simple analogy of somebody who wants to become a professional tennis player, right? Somebody who's young in their teens. So they engage a professional coach to help them. Well, there's a coach that's going to coach them and teach them and do all of that. But there also needs to put participation from the person learning, right? They've got to do all the hard work and the learning and listening. But there's also the parents. The parents have got to make sure that they get there in the morning to do all of the sessions and eat right and do all of that. And so everybody has a role to play, but it becomes very difficult unless you actually sit down and discuss that. Imagine being a tennis coach and not telling parents about the dietary requirements that your child might need. You just wouldn't be able to excel as a coach. And so these things need to be, as you correctly say, articulated, and it's within the company's best interest to do that. And so you're only helping the company if you get them to do that. However, if you are in a consultancy, you also can go back to your consultancy and say, look, this is the frustration that I'm suffering. However, having had chats with people, here's the first step that I believe will help me get towards a solution. I'd like you guys to help me engage with senior managers, to help me articulate how we're going to, put down these success criteria. And I want that done diplomatically, because obviously you don't want to jeopardize the relationship between your consultancy and the end client. But then at least you have people that are supporting you. And I believe that might be helpful as well, just to get the ball going, make sure everybody's on the same page. It then gives the positive impression that it's not just you trying to solve the problem, it's the entire consultancy. And I think you probably get senior managers buying into things far more that way. So that would be certainly a suggestion from me. Just one more thing, I popped again in the chat room, a guy that you may want to go and look up in LinkedIn, but also on YouTube, a guy by the name of Joe Justice. So he's very, very charismatic, very clever, has worked with Tesla and a number of other manufacturers in your industry, and has a lot of very good practical things to say about how Agile can be implemented actually in the hardware side of things, which is quite interesting. But yeah, that would be another person I'd possibly reach out to.
Well, Wolfgang, do you wonder if maybe they were just expecting you to look at the software development teams and nothing else?
No. They have a Scrum Master. They have also senior Scrum Masters. So so they
Okay.
have different Scrum teams, and they have a master, Scrum Master, and so on. But these people are so busy, and they are just concerned about the software they have to do. I also try to find this little bit alliance, yeah. So agile connection or so, yeah. But these people are also busy, yeah, with their software stuff. They have not much interest into going into the other levels because, yeah, that is they know how hard it is.
It's,
Yeah,
you,
but I think especially what Mike said really
yeah.
gives me is very good hints, and I will start thinking more about it and do something about it. Yeah.
Cool. That's great. So we normally limit these to a certain amount of time, or do people want to continue with this? Or Wolfgang, have you got the answers or enough suggestions?
Yeah, for me that is I'm very happy. Very good advice. Thank you.
Could I just add one last thing, just thinking about this? Wolfgang, I'm quickly, if it's okay with everybody, going to drop a link to another meetup that happened some time ago, which I believe was recorded by Helen Meek around scaling Kanban. And what that talks about is where the company looks at OKRs. So those are the big picture, what we want to try and achieve, and then how they can be disseminated through the different layers. So that your teams at the lower levels are guided by second layer, which are guided by OKRs, which are third layer. And that's quite important to know as an Agile coach, because you want continuity and alignment throughout an organization.
That's also a good idea. I don't think that they have OKRs. I think they probably have more something like MBOs or so. So all the people, all the managers know what is expected from them, but there is no transparency about overall what is the company looking for and so on. But I will ask for that, and maybe.
Well, even if you don't get OKRs, I think the idea is to have an alignment across all tiers and all parts of an infrastructure. Otherwise, what you don't have is true Agile alignment across an organization.
Yeah, but the idea is very good, because if I get somehow access to the goals of the company, and I find something like we want to become more agile by within 1 year or so, then I have something to refer to and say, okay, guys, you have this challenge, this objective, and I can help you with that. And so that could give me a little bit grip.
Thank you. So, Brent, shall we move on to the next one? Next highest one we've got. Metrics. What metrics do we think that can that you can use to help improve the team? Anyone got any?
I'd be keen to know who wrote that down and what they might want from it.
I wrote it down.
Okay, awesome.
And it was more to see what people's thoughts were. So, for example, some people look at the value of what the team's produced, whereas other people are like, "Oh, hey, we want story points." And for me, I'm like, "Oh, don't ask for an increase in story points, because I'll just go and tell everyone to add, the next sequence in the Fibonacci sequence to every story point, because
learned how to game
it doesn't mean anything." Yeah. So it was just I was interested in what other people are using to help their teams. Maybe that would have been a better way of wording it.
So things like throughput, etc. Time, looking at the stats for like how long it takes to get a ticket from left to right, etc.
Yeah.
Like looking at things like that. Essentially, like I mean, pretty much it's things along those lines. That's what we
Yeah.
normally use.
The
Yeah.
sort of Kanban cycle times. Yeah.
So times to release, trying to do that, and normally those actually become part of our OKRs.
Okay.
So normally, what we have done in the past is what we'll say is like we need to reduce OKRs by whatever percentage or something if we know what it is, because you can track it, right? Also like reducing bugs, things like that, making sure things are caught early and all that fun stuff.
Okay. Okay. Has anyone else got a suggestion?
Yeah, I would look at the lead time, Terence. Lead time before coming to the development teams.
Yeah.
That's an indication of the organizational issue. And other metric I would look at is that waiting time of the stories after they have been pulled into after they have come to the team and after they have been pulled into either sprint or Kanban. Do they get blocked or move out?
So that would be cycle time. You normally ubiquitously referred to cycle time, would it?
Cycle time, it includes your touch time and waiting time. The waiting time indicates how much the story was not ready to go through the flow.
So you mean it from a Kanban? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Kanban.
Or I guess it can show bottlenecks or issues where maybe people. I'm not picking on a particular area here, but let's say you're always having things waiting to be QA'd. Yeah, but either people are shying away from doing QA or they haven't got the specialism or something like that.
Also,
Okay.
QAing should not be at the end.
Built in.
Yeah, QAing should be the beginning of the work. You start with the building quality. So you start with the writing test cases. So if that's not happening, then that's what you need to be improving for that team and for that organization. So QA, that's why the name changed from being testers to QAs. Yes, you are building quality, not testing what has been built.
Cool.
Yeah, so depending on the level or where we are, what's the topmost symptom that you are seeing in your place.
Yeah. Sorry, did you ask me that as a question or just where we are?
Yeah, it's just where we are. Yeah.
So I might have something to contribute on that if you want.
Go for it.
But it's a bit of a left field contribution, actually. Again, I seem to be doing this a lot tonight. I'll be dropping something in the chat room. So 2 links. There's a game that you can play that sort of starts halfway through, and it's called the Work in Progress game. And I'm sure many people here have kind of played it already. But it's quite interesting in that you can get a team involved. And what it does is it takes you through a couple of rounds of some, you go through the process of developing stuff. And you've got to make decisions about where you prioritize and put all your efforts.
Mm-hmm.
But the nice thing about it is it actually has metrics that you can then look at built into the software. It's all free. It's all open and freely usable. That allows you to see what your cycle time is and lead time and There's some scatterplot graphs and various other things, but it really allows for you to do an interactive demo with the team and show how different decisions will have different impacts. And they do throw in sort of curveballs halfway through just to see what, real life scenarios of what would happen.
Okay.
Is that the
So
feature?
I encourage people to have a look at that. And I'm not affiliated with the company, so it comes at.
Is it based on like the paper playing game or like the coin game, coin flip?
So there are multiple games that teach you multiple things. I think this is far more holistic than the coin game or the paper game, or a lot of them are there to explain theory of constraints and things like that. Whereas this is much more of an interactive team decision, and you get to play a QA or a developer, and you get to decide where you put people, and then you get to roll some dice and random things happen, and you see if you can get things done as quickly as you can, and you can then look at reports on your session to see whether the things that you chose to do improved things or they deteriorated. And I think the ethos more than anything else was to try and encourage people to be metric driven or metric focused, and try and let the metrics objectively drive some of your decisions.
Okay. Database decisions. Oh, sorry, data.
Some of your decisions, whether they're data decisions or not. Yeah. But it's data to help you to drive decisions. Yes.
Yeah. Sounds good. I'll check that out. Has anybody else got anything they'd like to contribute on this one? No, shall we move it then?
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Those were good suggestions. What have we got next? Is the Scrum Master role a true leadership role? I take it that's as described in the latest version of the Scrum Guide.
Whose question is that? Was that yours, Terence?
No.
This is again mine. So I tell you a little bit about the background of it. In my first Scrum Master job my background is that I have been working about 20 years as a manager. So I've been department manager of engineers, product managers, and also marketing manager. And when I started with Scrum and Agile things, I was very clear that I don't want to be a manager anymore. I want to be an Agile leader, facilitator, moderator or so, but I don't want to be a manager. I don't want to tell people again what to do and how to do, because I seriously think that people have the best ideas how they can organize their work, how they can achieve the most, and who is doing what, and so on. So they should self-organize. And I thought, okay, I will just be the facilitator. And all the problems that came up with the development in my work, I said, okay, maybe I have my own idea, but you have to figure it out. I'm just a facilitator. I just have to help you to find the right answers. And somehow I found then that was not working, because they were unhappy about it. They expected from me to guide them a little bit. And my conclusion actually is that was not right. I should, at least this team needed a little bit more a kind of leader. maybe not a manager, somebody who is telling them what to do and organizing the work for them, but somehow somebody who tells them where to go, where is the goal, what is the right direction. And however, I'm a bit uncertain how that is really matching with the definition of a good Scrum Master.
What do people think?
I think the role evolves as your team evolves. So if I can give you an example, right? So for instance, if it's like a pretty new agile team that you just started, you're probably doing a lot more different things. But as they get to become a more mature agile team, your role changes because the Scrum Master will probably play quite a few different roles, including like one of them being a coach. And so as an example, to think about it, the first time like you teach a child how to ride a bicycle, they might fall off, but you're not going to stop teaching them. You're going to just try and help them, try another way, etc., till you finally get there. So it's probably one of those things I'd probably say. And eventually, like the team becomes a lot more independent.
Yeah. Sounds good. Has anyone else got anything to add? Thank you, Seth.
I'm curious to ask a question. Wolfgang, you suggested, if I understood correctly, that a leader should have answers. Do you think that? And apologies if I've misunderstood.
I think, yes, I think that is my idea about a leader. Yeah. So maybe not tell people, not tell people exactly each step that they need to do. Yeah. But somehow show strong belief that maybe have analogy with being a tour guide, a mountain tour guide, an example. So here in Munich there are mountains, yeah. I know some mountain tour guides. So and if you have unexperienced tourists going first time to a very high mountain, yeah, they need a guide who is experienced in that territory and whom they can trust that he knows the way and that he knows if it's still possible to make the summit, yeah, in this day and not leading them into a catastrophe or so. Yeah, so he don't need to take them. He don't have to bury them. He don't need to walk for them or take their luggage, but he needs to show the path and giving the right guidance. So, and I think that is maybe so my metaphor for a leader. I'm not sure if that is the right one or if there can be a different one.
I'm not sure that there's a right one. I think there are different approaches that you could take. Anybody else has any thoughts on that?
Yeah, for me, I always see it as behaving and acting in a way that I would like the rest of the team to be. So, you know, very simple things like that. But being modest enough to turn around and say, "Hey, I haven't got the answers, but I'd really like to understand what everyone else's thoughts are." Yeah, and getting people to contribute, getting them to reach their best potential, and sort of putting my own ego to one side, maybe, if that's possible, and really sort of developing them as team. They're really teammates. I never classify myself as a leader unless they're sort of they make you the leader. And when I mean leader, maybe it's more their representative as a person who's, you know, is sometimes going to turn around and say, hey, we've not done it looks like we've not done a great job here. How do you think we can change it? And the person who will push them to take those actions that they've agreed to do, and just be that reminder and sort of say, hey, we all agreed we were going to do this. Are we still actually doing it? Yeah, that's my take.
Yeah, but that was the issue with that particular team. They didn't want to take the responsibility to manage themselves, to organize themselves, and just get help from me in organizing. They expected somehow somebody who tells them what to do.
So you become the scrum mom, almost, as we call it, or I call it.
Maybe, yeah.
The mom of the team who's there to tell, hey, it's a stand-up time, even though it's the same time every day, but I'm going to have to go around all the desks and get everybody to come and join in. And yeah, I have been there.
It happens. It happens. So being a scrum master in an organization that hasn't embraced agile behaviors yet is a real big challenge. But there are some rewarding moments when you can set the standards by, like Terence mentioned, that turn around and say that I don't have the answer. I'm not going to have the answers. Let's all solve together, and introducing that kind of behaviors and being the role model like that. And definitely do not become the scrum dad.
Sorry, I said mom.
Yes, gotcha. So I used to deliberately not go to the stand-up just to see how they will do. Or I used to just get up and walk away from the area just around the stand-up time, so that if no one is reminding them, then what are they going to do? It can be a little bit patronizing sometimes to them. So kind of we need to balance it. Sometimes we do need to regularly remind them, bring the habit for our children, regularly brushing their teeth and telling them, brush your teeth, and then take their hands off from them and see whether they brush their teeth. Yeah, so it's kind of almost like a parenting role. It's almost like a dad or mom role. It is a parenting role, but it is rewarding. It can be frustrating, same as raising children.
So again, if I could just jump in, Anthony has written something I think is really good. He's called Gentle Empowerment, and I think that's spot on, Anthony. Well done. Do you want to elaborate on that? Do you feel comfortable to do that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's the first time I've been to one of these tactics. Thank you for letting me speak. That's great. Yeah, so I agree with what I didn't get the lady's name that was speaking on. Apologies.
I can hardly understand you. I don't know how with the others.
Yeah, you're very, very quiet. Might be the microphone.
Yeah. Hi, can you hear me now?
Excellent. Yeah.
Much better.
Fantastic. Sorry, I didn't catch the lady's name that was speaking then.
Malata.
Hi, how you doing? My name's Anthony. Yeah, so I really like what you did there. I'm about to go into the world of sort of Scrum Master after 22 years in the military, so I'm really looking forward to it. I would class myself as a training Scrum Master. I've got my courses in January. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like what you did there. Sometimes you've just got to not turn your back on your team, but almost give them enough time to allow them to grow and allow them to sort of muddle their way through with a little bit of guidance up to a point. That reminded me of some teams that I was in whereby just give them another 10 minutes and then somebody will naturally percolate to the surface and become a sort of a natural leader. And I like what you did there, almost encouraging them to to sort of crack on and get on with things. It can be really hard to do that though, because whereby you'd want to just get involved. However, sometimes you just need them to grow a little bit. So I really like what you did there.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it.
So coming back to you, thank you, Anthony. That was great. Wolfgang, just to maybe take you on a bit of a journey, if I can. I'm not sure if you have kids or nieces, nephews, young kids that you've ever taken out before, but I certainly have, my niece and nephew. And there's often times when I need to take them to new and interesting parks or forests or places I've never been before, and I'm certainly not an expert. But they look to me to lead them in that journey. And the parallel for me is that I don't know that we always need to have done it before or know the answers, but if we know some of the pitfalls and what to look out for, and we're respected by the people that we're with, then oftentimes we can lead. It has a lot to do with charisma. Anthony would be able to tell us far more about episodes of that, I'm sure, in the army, where you're going into a new environment, whether it's under a wartime scenario or not, and the person in charge, you lead, you know, if they're going to lead, you follow them. And often these squads pick their leaders if they're lucky enough, because it is somebody who inspires the team. So sometimes you need to lead because you know what the answer is, and sometimes you don't know what the answer is, but you can lead a team. Sometimes you know where the pitfalls are, and I think that's kind of key. But the other thing I was going to say was, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Alistair Coburn. So he wrote something called Shuhari, and then extended that to Shuhari Kokoro, which is actually an extension of, it's a martial art, I forget which one now, which basically says that it's a philosophy that says that when you start learning, you start learning as a student. And then as time progresses, you become somebody who doesn't need to do what the master says, but you become a master yourself. And I'll drop a link to his stuff now. But I think there is that as well. When I'm dealing with teams, if the team has no idea what they're doing, just giving them autonomy and saying self-organize can be very dangerous, because they can go down the wrong road. And so to provide them with those guardrails and direction, I think, is important. But later on, you want to absolutely encourage them to make their own decisions. And I applaud what was said earlier about walking away from stand-up and even retrospectives and having them self-organize and do that. I think that that's very important as well. And as time goes on, hopefully you make those decisions, make more right decisions than wrong decisions, and helping the team with that.
Yeah.
I'll drop a link for that Shuhari.
Yeah, I can see Prem's looking for Alistair at the moment.
Yeah. But that is a very good point with what you said, Mike. You don't, as a leader, you don't need necessarily to know the answers. You can simply somehow maybe just take the responsibility to find the answers, and and just have a very strong commitment to help the people and to be there for them in the need.
So Terence and Prem are doing exactly that. They're leading the session, but they're not necessarily coming with all the answers. They are facilitating and allowing us to find the answers as we go. And to me, that's a perfectly credible way of leading.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, I always say to my teams that I do not have the answer to everything, and quite often I have the answer to nothing. And they often have the answers themselves. I always feel that I'm not there to abandon them. I'm there to empower them and make sure that if they have guidelines or guide rails, that they stick within those guidelines as well.
Yeah,
as a leader. Yeah. Okay. Prem, can you go to the board so we can look at the...
Oh, sorry. There was... I was looking for his surname spelling.
I know, we could see. Has anyone else got anything they wish to add on that one? The true leadership role as it's now seen. Oh. Okay, what's the next highest one we've got? Oh.
Wait a minute. It was going to merge to something else.
Ah, okay.
Right. Okay. So what's the best? Oh, I saw this. What's the worst agile behavior you have seen this year? And then I added, what's the best agile behavior you have seen? Sorry, that it was a copycat ticket, but it got voted more.
Higher.
So it is going.
Don't worry, I'm not offended.
Oh, I'm definitely not going to explain anymore. Okay.
So, yeah, what have people seen as the best agile behavior this year? People had experiences where something stood out. For me, I think it's a program manager who turned around and sort of said, this is what I'm asking of you. I'm asking you to be to make this happen. I'm not telling you how to do it because you all know your jobs better than I do, and I couldn't possibly come up with a better way of doing things. But this is my ask of you. Please go and do this, and sort of left the team there and basically came back, I think about 30 minutes later, and said, obviously, don't forget, you can come up with whatever ideas you want, and if you need additional funding or something else, then let me know. And just sort of left the room there of these people who, I think some of them were a little bit gobsmacked, and I know Wolfgang mentioned this about some people who almost feel like they need to be led, or that their leaders got to have all the right answers. But you could see other people sort of almost cheering as to, thank you, we get to do the thing we wanted to do to give you the thing that the business needs. It was great to see. So that, I would put that program manager up there as one of the best agile behaviors I've seen.
Mm.
What about society? We've had an enormous year.
Mm.
We've had a lot of change that we've had to adapt to. And as a whole, I think society in the UK and more broadly, I think people have adapted to that particularly well. Whether you believe in COVID or not, whether you like the changes or not, whether you're a vaxxer or an anti-vaxxer, I think the fact that there has been change and the fact that people have adapted to that change, I think just shows you as a species how well we can adapt under the right circumstances. So shout out to humanity.
Nice one. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What I have seen, there are 4 people I can mention. One is our community lead, who is my hiring manager. He's very happy to say he doesn't know something, and he's very receptive to suggestions we make, or when he does something, when we suggest that probably we should do something differently. He's very receptive. It's not like, oh, I am delivery focused, we have to deliver, that kind of thing. So that is one good agile behavior he's exhibiting in an organization which is not, it's far from being agile. So that is a big difference he's showing from where he's living in his ecosystem. There are a few leaders they have shown that the first time they have heard Agile or even Agile manifesto from the coaching sessions, and then within very short time they turned around and then they said, what we are doing is so wrong, we should do like this. That was impressive. One of them is creating a cross-functional team. One of them is creating that we are not doing PowerPoints anymore. We will straight work from the backlog. We will prioritize backlog and we'll work from there. And the other one already has an innovation club, and he doesn't intervene with the team. They are doing whatever they want to do, creative. He will not show his power. I mean, he will not introduce that his hierarchy there. So there are pockets of that agile behaviors there, which is such a hope for 2022. Yeah, looking for those kind of pockets is what is going to help us, I think. Sorry, I took up so much of time.
No, that's good.
Roll.
Have other people experienced more good agile behaviors this year? No. Okay, shall we move on to the next one? Prem?
Yes. I was replying to Mike.
Oh, okay.
Come on, it's
Oh,
not.
he doesn't want to move back.
Whilst we're doing that, could I just very, very quickly ask, and I don't want to get this, I don't want to make this a separate discussion, but Terence, if you were to define what agile means, what does it mean to you?
God, what does it mean to me? It means being open and willing to experiment, try and continuously improve, do your inspection, your adaptation, be transparent about the things that you're doing, but not only the successful things, but also the things where you failed. And really that having that mindset rather than, you know, everything else that's out there. It's not the tools and the methodologies, maybe it's having the mindset to try things out and to understand the feedback loops and making adjustments.
My question was probably really badly stated, and apologies. Okay. And thank you for all of that, because that's interesting. If you had a one-sentence definition for Agile, what would it be? And you're welcome to say, I'm not prepared to answer that. It's too complicated.
No, a one sentence.
Who wants to say something?
Yeah.
I have one. For me, Agile is about to become a learning organization.
Okay, I like that. Anybody else?
I can say that adapting to the changes you see around yourself.
Yeah, so Prem, I think you and I are on the same, think in terms of the same way then. So my definition of Agile is the ability to adapt to change. Yeah. So it's everything that enables you to do that, and learning is part of that, and feedback loops are part of that, and changing your mindset is part of that, and inspect and adapt is all part of that. But it's really, and just maybe just 5 seconds, or a few more than 5 seconds. The reason for that is because waterfall was almost the antithesis of that. Waterfall was, we're going to plan everything up front, and then we're going to do everything in stages and get it out. And we're only ever going to find out whether what we're doing works by the time the customers see it at the end of the day, which could be 3 years later. And so what we want to do is we want to change everything in an organization to be able to make sure that if halfway through this experiment, because it's all just an experiment, we find out that something changes, that we can change, right? Our individuals allow us to change because they're thinking the right way. Our tools allow us to change because our tooling is agile. Our processes are highly adaptable and they are flexible and allow us to change. And so agility is allowing the mindset, the tooling, the process, the people, the everything, putting them in an aligned way that allows us to adapt to that change, because it makes no sense if we know that something's not going to work to continue working on it and put it out the door. It makes far more sense for us to change it early and make sure that it's right.
Mhm.
Anyway, there's my diatribe.
I think it's important to somebody come back to these basic questions, because also agile could be there is somehow a danger that agile becomes also a dogmatic way of thinking. So we know the answers, and we just have to follow the Agile Manifesto or the Scrum Guide, and that everything will work out. Yeah, so it's important that to have an understanding or more the mindset we don't know, and it's okay that we don't know, and we start from there and start learning and experimenting and so on.
100% agree. Could I just ask, the one item that's gone to done, Scrum says inspect and adapt, etc., seems to have gotten there without debate.
I don't know how we got that to there.
I was supposed to move the other one.
Okay.
This was always going and merging with something else.
Right. So we've got Scrum says inspect and adapt, but it also says we should do neither for the underlying framework. Is this right or wrong?
So if I can just expand on that, because I was the one who wrote that, and actually neatly segues to what Wolfgang just said right now. So the Scrum framework is one of the most ubiquitous and well-used frameworks under the umbrella of Agile. I can explain it. I'm kind of hoping most of you understand what it is. One of the core tenets of Scrum, and in fact of Agile more generally, is the idea of inspect and adapt. And yet there is a sentence in the Scrum Guide that particularly gets my goat. And I'm going to read it to you, and it's in the end note of the it's the end note. It's in the end note of the 2020 Scrum Guide, and it says this: the Scrum framework, as outlined herein, is immutable. So what that means, in my parlance, means that whilst we talk about inspect and adapt and everything else, you can't say you're doing Scrum if you're not doing everything that we've dictated in our framework. And it frustrates me because if Scrum was the starting point for new learners who want a structure in order to learn, I say great. But if at some point in time you decide you want to do a 16-minute stand-up and everybody agrees there's some good reason to do it, and suddenly you're now 1 minute outside of your 15-minute framework forced time box, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah, but the Scrum
You're doing
Guide,
it for a good reason.
but the Scrum Guide is not saying that the stand-up has to be 15 minutes.
Oh, it certainly does.
Yeah.
Really? Really?
Well, take the comfort in that if you don't do all of these, then you are not doing Scrum. And that be it. That would be fine. Now you are not doing Scrum, but you may still be Agile.
Yeah, but I think it's a step too far, and I think it becomes, you know, it becomes self-important, where they're kind of saying, all of you guys need to make changes, and all of you guys need to adapt, and all of you guys need to respond to change, but oh, as a framework, we're not going to. We're going to lay down the law, and it then becomes almost a biblical religious text that you need to follow. And I think that's wrong because it conflicts with the underlying premise that we need to start somewhere, but then we need to inspect and adapt for the outcome that we want. And the outcome we want is so that we're satisfying the people that we're trying to satisfy, whether they be external customers or internal customers, right? Ourselves as teams, organizations.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I like the Spotify style. They do not like to. Oh, Anthony has gone out. Let me admit him back in. That's why they say it's not a model. They did not develop a model. They started observing what worked, what didn't work, and then they evolved. And that's what they say in their video. They don't say that you go and set up teams as squads and then blah, blah, blah. They say that we started doing like this, then it worked. And then we started building like this, then it worked. And we moved. And
So Spotify doesn't use Spotify model.
no.
No.
So with Scrum, doesn't it basically say, or maybe I've read this somewhere else, that is their definition of Scrum. Yeah, as Prem said, if you take something away, they classify you as not doing Scrum. If you need to change it, that there's a underlying problem somewhere else. But I've also read, if you need to have more additional meetings, as long as those meetings are adding value, then you're not breaking Scrum.
Yeah, so Scrum certainly says that you should use it as a framework, and that it's the like any framework, right? The girdering that you put up to build a bridge, right? All the I-beams and the reinforcement and stuff. It is that.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you can put whatever, whether it be tar, or you can put wood down as a flatbed that allows you to move stuff over there. You can make it look pretty, you can add to it, you just can't take away from it. But I say that that's wrong and dangerous because it breeds an idea that we are too rigid. I think it should say that it's a very good starting position and move away from it at risk. But if you are a mature enough team and you understand and accept the consequences, then everything is mutable, including the framework.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%, Mike. But there is also an element of what Terence said, that when you are trying to do Scrum in the exact, well, I 100% agree with you that they should not have said that. And also the Scrum community is very religious, very, but then coming back to Terence's point, when you are trying to do Scrum in an organization which uses excuses, whenever it is not convenient for them, then they use that we are agile, we should be doing different, we should not be very strict to the framework or anything like that. So you say that is a symptom, especially when you observe them, then you know whether that is truly trying to be agile or whether they are truly using this to escape from being agile. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Prem, are you thinking of the discussion I think we had about a year ago? It must be longer than that, where we had a discussion where someone turned around, and I think it was someone on one of my teams was sort of saying, hey, if in the retrospective we come up with the idea but we should no longer do daily stand-ups, can we get rid of daily stand-ups then? Because we're a self-organizing team and we've decided we don't need those stand-ups, which to me is, I appreciate what you...
Well, sometimes you don't need daily stand-up, truly.
Yeah, but I think you need the I think you need the structure, and I think one of the reasons why the Scrum Guide sort of says that is because it now doesn't matter where I go. Yeah, if I go to another team that's doing Scrum, I know exactly what to expect, if that makes sense. Whereas if you develop it, sorry, go on.
Sorry, carry on.
I was just saying, if you get to that point where you're developing it beyond Scrum, but you're still keeping the core, that's fine. But if you take things away, then someone who's coming to your team thinking, hey, I know Scrum, is going to be like, what's going on here? Why is there something missing? Or
Terence, what's the first value of the Agile Manifesto?
Delivery
individuals' interactions over processes.
Values, not principles. Sorry. It is, so, and that's
so if we think of Scrum as being a framework, as a process, which fundamentally it falls more neatly into the processes and tool sides of that equation than it does the individuals and interactions, then if you say you cannot, I think that becomes a step too far. If you say, buyer beware, because it's there for a good reason, and if you stop doing it, you may fall foul of the thing it's trying to protect you from. I think that's a very intelligent thing to say. But keep in mind that Kanban, which is a perfectly legitimate approach to development, does not have 15-minute stand-ups. It can adopt them, but it doesn't have it as a formalized structure. And there are plenty of mature teams who say, we talk so much with each other during the day that we know what's going on. And so we don't need to now have a 15-minute break to talk just to tick box, to fulfill some type of guide, because we have moved past that, and we do accept that we manage the reason that is in place. We manage the risk that we would ordinarily mitigate by putting that 15-minute stand-up in place. Is that a fair comment?
If this would be really true in this team, yeah, that there is a team that they have so much communication, they are so transparent, yeah, then they don't need to stand up anymore. But what I found very often is if Scrum teams deviate from the Scrum guide, there's in my experience, there's always be a deeper reason, which was not in a positive way. So maybe 80% of the people talk every day with each other, but maybe 1 or 2 of the people are not part of this communication. And that is maybe the true reason why they don't want to have the daily.
I 100% agree with what you say.
I guess going back to something you asked earlier about the definition of Agile, I think having that mindset is more important than following a particular framework. But I think the framework is there as a construct for people to be able to do those things when potentially they haven't got the mindset, or there's a need. I mean, if you look at SAFe, for example, SAFe is very much that, hey, you need to be certified with us every year just in case something changes, and if you're not, then you're not doing SAFe. And you know, Kanban has its own meetings which it wants people to have.
So again, I think if we come back to that Shuha Ri Kokoro, which is this idea that we build up and we need to start with a Scrum framework, let's say, because we're learning the ropes, we have that, we need the structure that comes with that. Then as we progress, we can start lessening those. So a perfect example is, why do you need a 2-week iteration? Why can't you just pick up a piece of work and deliver it to done and just keep doing that? Why do you need to formalize things every 2 weeks? Eventually, you won't need to, because you're agile enough to be able to pick up a piece of work, discuss it with the relevant people that need to know about it, develop, test, get it out, release, validate that it has achieved what you wanted to achieve, and make sure everybody that needs to know about that, including people that need to develop on top of that work, know about it, right? Your marketing department knows about it because it's now releasable. And so it depends where you are in your journey, and that's all that I was trying to get at. It's not that it's right or wrong, but rather that it's contextually appropriate.
Do you feel that you always, so one thing that we, or I have often, is there, despite trying to keep teams together, people do leave, people have got different careers, they may be enjoying where they're working, but you know, something happens. So you're always going to have that new person potentially joining the team. Yeah. And that having a different way of working, well, I guess that's what everyone has, actually, now that I think about it.
No, I think what you're alluding to is right. I think having some degree of structure allows for some people, and it doesn't have to be developers, it could be anybody joining your stand-up, right? Anybody joining your team as a stakeholder can understand what the meaning of that event or whatever is. So you're right. I think it mitigates a risk. So under certain circumstances, it becomes the right thing to do. But let me give you another scenario. You have a 3-person team. They talk throughout the day. Do you need stand-up? Especially if they're mob programming.
Probably not, but I probably wouldn't be doing Scrum with 3 people.
Okay, but you see,
but it just depends.
but I think the point is, you change the context, and now you potentially can change the constraints that are needed and the solution that you can implement. And so, you're talking about leadership before, Wolfgang. As a leader, you need to be aware of what the problems and risks might be, and surface those so that collectively we can make a decision, try and experiment, inspect and adapt, and make sure that it's working the way that we want it to work. And I think that's important.
Do you think one of the issues with this, with that approach, could be that you move away from it, you encounter issues, but then you don't know how to go back to it, or and this happens sometimes with developers, your ego doesn't want you to go back. If that makes sense.
So the answer,
I just wonder if it's
so the answer is yes. 100% right. I feel like we're monopolizing at the moment, though. So does anybody have any other thoughts?
Yeah. What does other people think about the inspect and adapt, but not the framework?
And just Mike mentioned that we are just few of us just talking. Just the last maybe just sentence on this is that, have you you might have come across Dreyfus model. That could be one of the problems that we agile coaches face, that if we are in the later part of our way of adapting and leading things, like our understanding of that Scrum should also adapt and change, and if the team thinks, then we should be okay. But what if the team is just in the learning stage, like shoe in the model? Then it is good to help them to learn at that time. There where the conflicting messages to the organization might happen, that at some point they are saying stick to the rules, and then at some other point they are saying it's okay, you can break the rules. Maybe the idea is to go for the Spotify model where they didn't have a model. That might be.
That's 100% right.
Yeah. It kind of works better, doesn't it?
So again, the analogy that I would use is, as a parent, if I was going to teach my daughter to ride a bicycle, I'd probably start with training wheels. Once she's comfortable, then she'll try without training wheels, and maybe she has an accident and wants to go back to using the training wheels, and that's okay. Eventually she will get rid of the training wheels and she'll move on, and then later on she'll want to do a whole lot of tricks on her bicycle, and that's great as well. And if she has an accident, she'll probably stop doing tricks for a while and build up her confidence and build up her skill. But these are all just experiments, right? And they're an experiment on a journey. And some people don't do tricks on bicycles because they don't want to get that far. They don't have a need to. And so it all comes down to a complex dynamic of all of these things.
Anyone else got anything they'd like to add?
Move this.
Yep, I can't see anyone coming off pause at the moment. Mute, sorry.
Cool.
Okay, yeah. So with an increase in machine learning, artificial intelligence and robotics, what will people do for jobs in the future? Great question.
Sorry, I was the one who came up with this. So let me just add one more thing to this. Bill Gates has been instrumental in the last few years of saying, for example, in the manufacturing industry, robotics and machine learning have taken over so much that there are now fewer jobs done by human beings than there are robots. If you look at Musk and Tesla and the amount of robotics they have, it's amazing and increasing daily. Amazon, same thing. And one of the interesting things that Bill Gates has then said is, maybe we should put in a robot tax so that we can gain some money to pay people. So the government still needs money to pay people when they lose their jobs.
Isn't it the same story we heard when the industrialization happened?
Absolutely. And there's certainly enough evidence out there to say that actually there isn't a reduction in jobs. But I'm curious to see what people think about this whole thing.
Oh.
Yeah, go for it.
Now, in regards to the jobs, available jobs, or I think the problem is, with inflation, I think like we're in this culture and in the Western world in regards to capitalism and growth, which is all inflationary. And I think the big problem is that technology and AI and things like that are deflationary. And I think in the future, there's going to become like a turning point, because we have to keep growing, because that's the kind of financial culture and financial setup to keep growing and to keep growing onwards and upwards and more. Like we're saying, the AI situation is supposedly going to give us the opposite, isn't it? So I think that's going to cause a problem in the future. And
Dennis, what do you mean by deflationary and inflationary?
Well, the more robots there are and more AI and the less need for human labor, then you remember like some years, when I was younger, I'm 50 now, when I was younger, we were sold the idea that in the future we'll have lots of leisure time, because with technology there'll be loads of free time for us, because robots would be doing much of the labor and life would be able to slow down, we'll have more leisure time, etc., etc. Yeah, but if you notice in reality, well, from my experiences, that hasn't happened. And like lots of people I work with in my own life, things are getting, people are more and more hurried almost, and people have less and less time for each other, less and less time for their families. So the quality of life has decreased. Yeah.
Compared to what?
Sorry?
Compared to what? Compared to 20 years ago, 50 years ago?
Compared, I suppose, compared to the idea that we would be having a different experience of life because of, you know, technology, because technology was going to save us time and save us, you know, space and time to live more, I suppose, in a more leisurely way. But that hasn't happened in my experience and for the people I am around. And so, yeah, so what I mean by deflationary then is AI and technology. It's not about continual growth, is it, for humans in a sense, in regards to our personal labor? Because the idea is it's going to be less. So those two things are contradictory, if you know what I mean.
Have you ever heard of a place called Atom Bank?
Atom Bank?
Yeah, they've been in the news recently.
No, go on.
So Atom Bank is a digital-only bank. They don't have bricks and mortar outlets. You can do all of your banking, including savings accounts, deposits, withdrawals, mortgages, etc., all online, all digitally. They have just moved to a 4-day week across the board. So as there is more conversation now than in the last 10 years about work-life balance, and especially with COVID, I think people are finding just how important family is. A lot of people have rather enjoyed working remotely. Do you think that maybe that could change in the future? That actually, not necessarily because of AI, but simply because people want more spare time, that they might start demanding?
Well, this is the crux, because you know, in the question it says, with increased AI, what will people do for jobs in the future? And I think the key thing about that is, it's what will some people do? Because some people will have, I think, a real good quality of life and see lots of improvements because of technology. But I think there will be a lot of people who are going to really suffer if they can't, because they can't function, their skills don't allow them to function in that new world.
I think that's an important contribution. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I wonder, so for me, I can see that the AI and things like that has led to some labor saving devices, shall we say? Even if you think of just DevOps, yeah, I haven't got to spend my time going to every single server to deploy something. I can set it up, and I've got the basic robotics to be able to deploy to multiple machines all at once. Great. What's that really meant? It's meant that I move on to doing some more work. So I think yes, there are instances where people's working week, the hours they work during the week, has been reduced, which is a great thing for those people involved. What do I think it will mean for jobs in the future? There is that thought that it will lead to more creative style of jobs, where potentially the manual labor that's being done at the moment may no longer need to be done by humans and can be replaced with robotics, with AI learning and machine learning. My wife laughs at me because I turn around to a couple of years ago, we were talking, and I was like, I'd hate to be a postman because postmen are probably going to become obsolete soon. And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, well, self-driving cars, you just need some bots or robotics where the robot can walk. And why do I need a postman who's going to, only work at a certain time, where I can have a fleet of robots who work 24 hours a day for me? So I can see certain roles like that being taken away. I think it leads to people having more thinking time, and therefore be more creative about what the work that they are doing. Hopefully. But
Okay.
that's just my view. I'm interested in other people's views as well. Wolfgang.
So I think, first of all, I think it's a matter of fact that working time becomes less and less. So I'm already more than 60 years old, and I know times when I was 20, it was in Germany, the normal working week was not 5 days, it was 6 days. My father, an example, he worked in a factory, and for all his lifetime, he worked on Saturdays also. For me, that would, yeah, it's I never worked on Saturdays, yeah, and my work time has reduced more and more. And I also know how my mother worked in the early 70s or so. We had coal heating. We had to bring coal from the cellar every day. We had no washing machines. I have there. So life become more and more easy for the majority of people. And I think that definitely is a tendency. Also, when you think about when really automotive driving comes, what about all the truck drivers? What about all the taxi drivers? What about all the delivery services? That all can be made automated. You don't need the people anymore, and it will simply be too costly to have them driving a truck, driving Amazon, delivering car, driving a taxi, and so on. Machines can do it much cheaper. And that is definitely, I think, the future. There will be really, there will be some really high qualified jobs still, to develop all this AI, to develop all this computer science stuff and so on. But that will, just be a very few people, but the majority of people who are right now working in very simple jobs, also in not so developed countries, in the textile industry and so on, machines will all take over these jobs, and that will create really a very massive unemployment. That does not necessarily mean that the whole mankind will be suffering. Maybe we will develop new social systems post capitalism system. Maybe not communism, maybe something different. Yeah, so that need not necessarily be a worse world than we have today, but it will be certainly a completely different world. And I have another thought about it. I'm not really sure if we should regret so much jobs like a postman or so. Nobody is really, to being a postman is not really something what is really making people happy, or working in the factory or driving a truck. I don't think that truck drivers are particularly happy people driving over the trucks. Yeah, I think maybe the future is going back very much back in the history of human mankind. Maybe we will live in small villages, growing plants, growing our own food, and working in a very native way, because that is actually what makes people happy. People, we are our genes, our roots are living in small tribes, closely connected to friends, families, neighbors, helping each other, and so on. So I don't think that people, most of the people are right now living in mega cities, not really having happy lives. Yeah, and maybe if machines take over a lot of this stupid work, yeah, maybe we can go back to a very native way of living, more like Indians living in America 300 years ago. Yeah, small tribes or so. And machines giving us all the health service, all the food that we need, all the caring and so on, but we can live in a way that is really more suitable for people, actually. I think sitting in houses in front of computers and television sets and PlayStations is not really not a natural way of living and not really making people happy. It's just a substitution of what we really need.
So there was a thought experiment very quickly that I had with somebody once that said, and it was inspired by Star Trek. So with all due respect to Wolfgang and his X-Wing. So in Star Trek, you have a situation where nobody needs to work. Robots and computers can basically produce anything that you need: food, clothing, housing, etc., etc. And the three things that those robots need is intelligence, so being able to intelligently make or do or decide whatever they need to decide to produce that stuff. Raw materials, which we could argue we may, not have enough of, but that's an argument. And power, electricity. So again, there are means for us to gain enough electricity, but in an environment where those automated units could have the intelligence to do anything, the raw materials to self-produce and produce for us whatever we needed, and the power to do that sustainably without killing the planet along with it. Actually, we wouldn't need to do anything. We could have it all done for us. With that would go capitalism. We wouldn't need money anymore, because who needs to pay robots? If they can do it all themselves and they can power themselves sustainably, then they can do that. And then we can just choose to do what we want to do. If you want to work and be a doctor, you can be a doctor because you choose and inspired enough to be a doctor. You want to sit and paint, you can sit and paint. The problem is that between now and then, there's an ever diminishing number of jobs, potentially. And you may get to a situation that before we get to this utopia where we can have enough raw materials, sufficiently intelligent robots, and all the self-sustaining power, if we don't get there quick enough, we may have a situation where we run out of the ability for people to be able to actually pay for things that we need. And that may, if we ever did get to that on a large enough scale, may lead to something like a global revolt. So a cataclysm. Anyway, that was the thought experiment. It was just to try and picture what that journey may look like. And there are plenty of other alternatives, I'm sure, but just as a thought for you people, as we're about to run out of time, I think.
Anyone else got any thoughts before?
Already, there's already a lot of interest in self-sufficiency style life, foraging, growing your own. It's gaining momentum quite a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That is definitely, that's a really very interesting thought process, thought experiment, like.
Yeah, because I think it doesn't say Wolfgang is wrong. Quite the contrary, it says that he might be right. That if you choose to live in a more natural environment where you commune far closer to nature and you want to produce your own stuff, then go for it. One of my best friends lives off-grid in Brazil currently and produces his own food, electricity, water.
Wow.
I, on the other hand, am way too lazy to do any of that. So I'm quite happy watching my movies and having my conveniences and all of my comforts, as you can quite clearly see.
I'm with you, Mike. I'm waiting for the machines to be able to allow me to live off grid, but I can see the issue with that living off grid and needing the machines. Prem, do you want to make me a presenter again? Then I'll those last two are mine, so we've not got time to cover those.
Not a long time ago, well, at least not in the village I grew up in India, in Tamil Nadu. Things were really very different from how it is in the UK. Farmers used to give farm produce as wages for the farm workers. So it was not money. It was the farm produce and some little bit of money as well. Yeah, quite a lot. It's a very different lifestyle. And the more and more I realize how much we are struggling to go back to that lifestyle. I'm really surprised. It was not difficult living that way, because that's how we were living, and it can be very easily that life in the village I grew up.
I wonder if that would still be true if you could have everything produced for you, and so you opt to go back to a simpler life. So I buy in quite a bit to what Wolfgang was saying. It may well be that that's a
I will go
quality of lifestyle.
I will go back to that life. Yeah, it does take a different mindset. My brother wouldn't, even though we both grew up in the same house, same village, same lifestyle, same environment, same people around, same values and everything. Not even a different culture, not even a different society. My brother and I would have different approach to life.
I think we might be out of time.
Yep. Prem, do you want to
Stop sharing?
let me? Here we go. I will quickly do this. Hopefully, 3, 2, 1. You should be able to see my screen. Oh, there we go. So, thank you for that. So, what's next? 11th of January is our next meetup. It'll be an Agile clinic again. Then when we go into February, March, we'll be having guest speakers again. You can find myself and Prem on LinkedIn. We're open to any feedback, and you can give it via Gmail or the meetup page, or via a LinkedIn message to either of us. We always like feedback. This meetup is sponsored by Capgemini, who I work for. They do have a number of positions available. If anyone knows anybody who's looking for a role, there's a number of roles there: Scrum Masters, user researchers, BAs. You can either go to the Capgemini website, or you can get in contact with me. You can still contact me via just LinkedIn if you want, but there's also my Capgemini email address there. And that is it. So thank you, everybody. Thanks very much for tonight, and we hope to see you next month. I hope you all had a great time.
Yes.
I hope everybody has a fantastic holiday season.
Yes. Happy holidays. Yep. Happy New Year. See you in the New Year.
See you.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye. Bye.